Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Roundup. Boy, we got a full house, and this time of the year, it's Independence Day weekend, and we're going to spotlight on Wilkesville today, and we're going to have some musical entertainment from a young man who's building a career. He's been on our stations before, and we're going to talk about his appearances on Homegrown Happy Hour and several other places that he plays. And our guests today are Constance White from the Wilkesville 4th of July, Andy Milliken, local musician and entertainer. And the 4th of July is coming up, and this lady's been involved in the Wilkesville one for a long time. And what do you tell us about that Americana celebration they have out at Wilkesville? It's become quite popular.
Well, it's a wonderful event, Red, and we have. I just think it's like you said, it's Americana. It's hometown, it's homegrown, and we just have a great time there. This year, the theme is going to be from sea to shining sea, and so you can do your floats and your decorations, and we have different categories, and we have prizes. So we select a top entry in all the different areas, but it's just I I know it's been going on at least 33 years. I'm not sure if it's older than that. So I've had the great honor of being the announcer for the parade all of those years except for one. I had to miss one. So I've only missed once in 33 years, Red. And this is several people in the community used to be the organizers of that, and some of them have moved on, and some of them moved out of town. But right now, our village council is helping to coordinate the organization part of this event.
And you have a lot of different entries. And one thing I always liked about you announcing, you seem to you do your homework. All those kids, you know their names and call them out. I'm sure their parents love that.
Well, I did have a friend who comes down from MacArthur, and that's what he says to me. He says, I like it because I know who's doing what in this entry, and, you seem to recognize a lot of the folks and the work that they're doing to help this to be a successful parade. And so I thought I would mention that we have a children's two levels, age groups on children, and they decorate bikes or four-wheelers or, some kind of things. Sometimes kids walk their dog and decorate their dogs. We've even had one gentleman in our community, they had longhorn cattle, and Gene Puckett, one of the uncles, rode one of the longhorn cattle in the parade one year. So it's always, we never know what we're going to get, Red, and it's always very interesting. And old cars. So if you've got an old car that's still drivable in your garage, just dust it off, polish it up, and come on out for the parade. We also have queens that represent their different festivals and programs. And we have floats. And usually different churches in our area do a float for the parade. And they have, this year I think they're going to have entries judging for old tractors. So if you've got an old tractor, I know some of you guys are still out there farming with those old tractors, but you can hose them off or just leave the mud on them, bring them over to the parade, and just have fun.
Yeah, we're going to introduce Andy in just a moment, but Bob Davis has that 1940 John Deere.
Yes, and that is a very special John Deere because his father had an implement business, sold farm equipment up at Mount Pleasant on 93 north of MacArthur. And that was the very first tractor he ever sold. And Bob was able to locate that tractor and restore it. And that's just a really special thing. So he's always been very active in our parade. So,
Andy Milliken, we're going to bring him in. And Andy, what's it like to What's it like to play at these events, whether at public events? And you also were the first guest on the Homegrown Happy Hour. What's it like to do a radio concert?
Oh, it's awful glamorous, Red. No, I'm very fortunate to get to be able to do what I do, and it's a lot of fun. It can be challenging sometimes. A lot of the places around here, they're kind of expecting covers, and I try as much as I can to do shows where I just do my own songs. So once we get over that little hump, things go pretty smoothly. I tell people anymore, the music's always going to be about the same, so I don't really judge a performance based on the music anymore. I just like people to laugh at my jokes.
Tell us what the difference. Is there a difference between just doing a concert in front of people and and then singing on the radio? Is it different for the performer when they're doing that?
Well, for me it is, yeah. I feel like, whenever I'm playing in a bar, I got 2 or 3 hours, so each particular song doesn't seem to mean as much to me, whereas like, when I did the Homegrown Happy Hour or this, I'd take a little bit of time and think about what songs I'm going to do and all that sort of thing.
I'll tell you, you can see this man around. We're going to talk about his future. Let's give the audience a little sample of what you do, and then we'll come back and talk about Independence Day weekend in Wilkesville and a lot more. So it's a little sample of what Andy does here.
Sure. So we were talking about Walt Cook, Connie and I, a little bit earlier, and I usually start out with a Walt Cook song. He employed me when I was a teenager as a music teacher at Hummingbird Music in Jackson there. Now he's down in Florida. But anyway, this was his regional hit back when you could have one of those, called Goodbye Cleveland. Down to B&O to Cincinnati, riding free of charge in a cattle car. Killed a man in Cleveland, Ohio. Killed a man while fighting in a bar. Well, I never knew he had a knife about him. Never knew till I saw it in his hand. Then cold steel was flashing in the dim light, till my broken bottle made its brand. And I ran down to the train depot, hopped on an old freight train that was a-rolling slow. Well, I gotta keep moving so I can stay free, for I killed a man who was gonna kill me. Goodbye, Cleveland, I gotta be leaving you. I never know just where I'll be each sunrise, 'cause they're searching for me night and day. And if they do succeed in finding where I'm at, I'll go to London prison for a stay. And I ran down to the train depot, hopped on an old freight train that was a-rolling slow. Well, I gotta keep moving so I can stay free, for I killed a man who was gonna kill me. Goodbye, Cleveland, gotta be leaving you.
All right. All right.
Thank you.
We're going to hear some more from Andy in a little bit, music and conversation. And just want to let everybody know that we are live on the radio, 105.3 Fox Sports. We're on the Total Media radio app around the country. And you see my friend Gene down in Mississippi listens. I went down and saw him last week and met him for the first time. And we've been buddies on Facebook a while. And he was very hospitable to take me around northeast Mississippi, and I appreciate that. We went to Oxford and Tupelo, and wow. we had a great time in his hometown of Bruce. I wanted to miss it. And Bruce is a small town, and not like Wilkesville. And now, your plate's always on the 4th at 11.
Yes.
You've never moved it for Sunday or anything, right?
If the 4th falls on Sunday, which this year it's not, but when
Okay.
it does fall on Sunday, then we don't start the parade. Lineup would be at 11, and then the parade at 12 o'clock. So we've kind of got a set pattern, and everybody knows the lineup starts. That means you go get your numbers for your entries at the fire hall, at the new fire hall, because we have an old fire hall on the main street. But you get your entry starting at 10 o'clock and line up, and then the parade starts at 11. So we have members of our local American Legion group that do the flag presentation in front of the grandstand. There's the shelter house there where people can sit under the trees and bring your lawn chairs if you don't want to sit on a picnic table in the shelter. So, and there's a few benches there, but most people just bring their own lawn chairs. And so they give line up there. Now for the kids portion of the parade, they line up at the old building that's, I'll say, catty-cornered across the street from the old restaurant.
Okay.
So that's downtown on the main street. So if you have children that are going to be there, you don't have to come up to the fire hall and get your numbers there. So they just will meet with somebody from the council that's volunteers. I just want to say that this parade couldn't happen without all the volunteers that help to do this. We have Roy Vaughn and Linda, and they have a really great wagon that's covered. So that's for the judges to sit in, and for us, the speaker, David Stifler, we have that sings the national anthem this year. And so there's just all kinds of people that are making the signs as you come into Wilkesville on 160 that says information about the parade there. And I posted it on the Wilkesville Reporter 3 so people could know about this and also other things that are going on too. So the I just
You know that I wanted to. I'm glad you brought that up. I'm not sure. I don't think it was there when I came here almost 30 years ago. When was that paper in operation, the Wilkesville Reporter? Do you?
Well, the original Wilkesville Reporter was started when President Grant ran for office. So back in the 1800s. And then it died out. And then Miriam Spires, she started it up, and it was a paper newspaper. We called it the Wilkesville Reporter 2. And then when they went to Facebook, then it's Wilkesville Reporter 3. So over the years, and so I would say probably about, in more recent events, at least 25, 30 years it's been available. And it's very helpful to get information out to folks in our area. And it's like you were mentioning, you got a friend down in Tupelo area that, we have people with being on Facebook now. You can be any place in the world and check out what's going on in Wilkesville sometimes. So,
we got good. We did do the parade and video last year, and we got good response. And it's really a part of. I think it's good that we still have an Appalachian. And Amanda Boring, our new marketing director, she's going to be marketing Appalachia, ecotourism, and I think Wilkesville really fits into.
Oh, definitely. Well, as I was saying to you earlier, Red, and talking about Andy's family background a little bit too, that we both have, ties into the early days of Wilkesville, and his ancestry has the Carr family. And he mentioned your great-grandmother was an artist during the WPA?
I think it was just one great, because I'm pretty old. Edith Carr Rupert she was employed by the WPA as an art teacher, did a lot of watercolors and oil stuff, and I've just always grown up with her paintings on the wall.
So the Carr family was one of the early settlers in the Wilkesville Township. And my family, the Wells family, was also back then. And Wilkesville, we very proudly say it is the oldest town in Vinton County. And it was a part of Gallia County before it became Vinton County in 1850. So since 1810, Wilkesville has been going along, and a lot of interesting things have happened there. Just, this is totally aside, but we are the only town in Benton County that has a public square. And the reason it is a public square is Charles Wilkes, who was the person who acquired the land that Wilkesville was laid out on. He sent a Frenchman, Henry Duke, or Henri Duke,
No,
you know.
love that. Yeah.
And so it has a New England style of village plan, and that's why we have the village commons or the square. And it's been a great asset to our community there to utilize. We had the school there for many years, and now the fire department has their new building there on the square. So, and coming up the end of July, we always have the Wilkesville fish fry put on by the fire department. So there's a lot of, and then the bean dinner in September. So there's a lot of activity in our little town.
You know, and I want to talk about the school in just a moment, but I want to turn to Andy just real quick. Andy, tell us, why music for you? What drove you to play music, and what do you play at around the area?
Well, probably just because I can't do anything else. I'm pretty good at digging post holes, I guess. That's my other talent. But yeah, I'm playing. Now tomorrow I'm playing in Granville up by Columbus at Seek No Further Cidery. And then next weekend I'm going to be playing in town here at Parker's Place, formerly Marie Laveau's, right downtown there. And I think that starts at 9. Yeah, I don't. I was working in mental health up until 2022, and had some illness in the family to deal with, and just the stress of the pandemic and all that stuff. So I kind of quit doing that, and just figured I'd do this while I can for as long as I can. I'm sure there's a limit to it, but just kind of going day by day with it, you know.
Let's talk about a friend of yours real quick, a man that is talented, and he's building his own quite a big reputation, John Reister. And John has joined you on the Homegrown Happy Hour. We're going to show a clip from that in just a moment, but John's been on KET, Kentucky Educational Television. He's an instrument maker, a singer, and tell us about how you and John became friends and how that all unfolded.
Well, we became friends shortly out of high school. I'm a little bit older than him, but we were both working for a summer camp through the health department, Help Me Grow here in town. And we, both played music a little bit and just decided we were going to be brothers. He operates Reister Violin and Repair out of Kentucky, just outside of Moorhead. And his list of clients is pretty impressive. He sold a couple fiddles to Tyler Childers and some members of his band. He's had people play his fiddles at the Grand Ole Opry and Radio City Music Hall. So he's just doing great, and glad to know.
I'll tell you what, let's see these two guys together. This is from the Homegrown Happy Hour. Andy Milliken and John Reister are doing a little picking and fiddling, I think, together. And let's take a look at that real quick.
It's thirsty work playing the guitar and singing. So this one I learned from Bart. It's by a guy named Mike Pratt from Wellston, Ohio. Heck of a songwriter. And this is called A Guitar and a Silver Dollar. You'll probably see some more famous people than us doing it around pretty soon on the internet. But this is how we do it. I got a guitar and a silver dollar my grandpa gave me before he died. He said, son, you could make it to the opera if you tried. Well, there ain't a star to wish on out tonight. I'm so damn lonesome I could cry. These old trucks keep rolling by me, seem like 90 miles an hour. I developed a lot of respect for that Detroit power. A cold beer and a warm meal would sure hit the spot. But a guitar and a silver dollar, that's all I got. There'll be no more tales of these bars and jails to haunt me when I'm flying. Tell me, hand, you better settle down, 'cause there might be someone behind. Heck, I'm lying on the bottom most of the time. Hunting words that rhyme. I miss my dear old grandpa and the things that he used to say. I still think about that old man every day. Hey Grandpa, I love you, and I wanna say thanks a lot. But a guitar and a silver dollar, that's all I got. There'll be no more tales of these bars and jails to haunt me when I'm flying. Tell me, hand, you better settle down, 'cause there might be someone behind. Heck, I'm lying on the bottom most of the time. Words that rhyme.
And we are back. I tell you, that's the wonderful entertainment that we have in the area, and we're talking about tourism. Music is certainly part of that, and Selesky is going to get a stage for their park, and as Vinton County, I know that your family, your husband Joe was the commissioner, and tourism's always at the top of the helm in Vinton County. How do you think the Vinton County's natural beauty will kind of fit into the future tourism plans as we go along?
Well, I think it's one of our greatest assets. We're very fortunate to have, Zaleski State Forest, Lake Hope State Park, Lake Alma, parts of Tar Hollow, and there's the experimental forest there at Vinton, experimental forest, kind of between Radcliffe and Dundas area, and we have some very unique places. We're not as famous as the Hocking Hills region, but there's some really beautiful places, and I think we see it all the time, and maybe we just take it for granted. I will say that we went to South Dakota here a few years ago, and 3 or 4 years ago, and they lost one of my husband Joe's pieces of luggage.
Oh.
So at about midnight, they said, well, we know where it is and we'll bring it to your house tomorrow. And this lady pulls in the drive the next afternoon, and she walks up and she said, I want to thank you for losing your luggage. And we kind of went, what? And she said, I've just had the most beautiful drive that I have had in a very long time. And GPS had taken her out Route 124 from Wellston out to Wilkesville, and we go that way all the time, and you never stop and smell the roses, I think. So I'm thrilled that we can have a focus on our natural beauty here in southeastern Ohio and our county, and it attracts people. If I'm from away from here, a lot of times if people know where it is, it's because they're into deer hunting or turkey hunting, and they've been to Vinton County. So there's also that aspect, the hunting and fishing aspect. We're not the big walleye fishermen, but there's still a lot of people that like to get a boat out on Lake Hope or even Lake Alma, and it's lovely to get out and enjoy all of that.
Now, we do have if I'm not mistaken, the longest portion of the longest creek in the world in Vinton County.
Yes.
Raccoon Creek,
Yes.
longest creek in the world.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that either.
And for the last probably the last 30 years, We have had a Raccoon Creek coordinator. Amy Mackey is our current person, and she's based over at Ohio University. But we've spent through reclamation work. There are now, I don't know what the latest total is, but we've gone from having a dead creek to having certain areas of it reach the standard of warm water habitat, which is fabulous for fish and the aquatic insects and things. So even Raccoon Creek is getting better these days. So
I see a lot of ducks and beavers. I think maybe I saw a Sasquatch last year.
okay.
I do know we're getting some black bears coming though.
Is there some rafting and kayaking going on?
Yes.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yes.
Now, and, you know, I'm from West Virginia originally, and we went from black coal to whitewater rafting for the Summersville area. It's in the center of the state, and it's become famous worldwide for the Gauley River
Oh yeah.
whitewater. Now at the bottom of the river,
And the New River.
the new river, the new river's divided into two parts. At the top, it's for the tourists. At the bottom, you got to pay the state to do it. You have to bond yourself. They don't let you do the bottom unless you're a professional and you buy
Wow.
the insurance and the whole. The state found out something one time. I think that they limit parachuters to 1 day of jumping off the New River Bridge. The state realized that they own that bridge, and if there's any accidents, they're responsible for it. At first, when that bridge opened, people was jumping off of it every day.
I see.
And then they got to thinking, if something goes wrong, we better not know. That's one of the biggest, tallest bridges in America. And you said stop and smell the roses. People that live there don't realize it, but tourists certainly, it's become a big tourist attraction. It was built as a 4-lane bridge as part of Route 19, and it's much more than a 4-lane bridge. It's a true engineering marvel that they built that bridge, and it's one of West Virginia's biggest tourist attractions. And so it's the Hatfield and McCoy trails, and you know, trail hiking, biking is going to be part of Benton County's
Yes.
future.
Yes.
too.
Well, we do have the Moonville Tunnel, and you mentioned Sasquatch, but there are those who believe in ghosts. The Moonville Tunnel, they say, is haunted. So if you're into that paranormal type of tourism,
They have a really cool Halloween festival. I played there last year inside the tunnel. They've had it for 4 or 5 years now, and it's super neat. I'm not sure the date this year, but it's in October, so you should definitely check that out.
Debbie Webb, the secretary for the Benton County Schools, she told me that I think she was in New York City, and Matt Lauer went to OU, so
Yes.
he knew where the Moonville.
cool.
And used to be like even as recently as when I was in school, you'd have to walk through the woods to get there. But now there's really nice parking areas, and it's just right there.
It was more treacherous taking that little footpath
Yeah,
along the
yeah.
creek, and especially if it had rained a little bit. But
But they do have a nice long walking, or I think you can bike on there. I just think there's no motorized vehicles
Right.
that goes along where the railroad tracks were.
yes,
You know, that's been discussed. We don't know if that'll ever happen one day, where they'll let people take ATVs on it. Right now, like you mentioned, they're not. But you never know what the tourism board may change in the future, or it may stay the same. You just never know these days. But certainly, the Hatfield and McCoy Trail in West Virginia has made them millions of dollars, and it's become an iconic attraction across America. So certainly, natural tourism is in the spotlight, and we saw here at Total Media that Dollywood. I'm sorry that Hocking Hills is getting more Google hits than Dollywood.
really. Well, people come from other countries to come and hike in our region, so it's definitely a draw, and especially people in the northern end of Vinton County are able to kind of tap into that population of tourists with cabins and Airbnbs things, and that's becoming very popular in our area too. So
One thing you mentioned the school, and a big part of Wilkesville, and the school did have its fame, and actually the new high school drive for Vinton County started in Wilkesville with the making of the documentary where they came and do you remember that where they did the coal? They took shots at the Wilkesville school and the coal.
yes, and the coal furnace that was used to heat the building and things. So
Jeffrey Hayden shot that, and he was a national. He's produced the Andy Griffith Show, Matlock, and so Wilkesville's had its.
well, his wife is Eva Marie Saint, and my mother was on the school board at that time, Maxine Wells, and she had the great fortune of getting to personally meet with those two folks, and I think that was one of the very special times during all of that, trying to get a new high school built in Vinton County. So
I've never seen the county pour together. It's tough to get Vinton County to pour together, but they really poured together for that. They poured together when they didn't have a grocery store, which was a real problem. I mean, you were a mother and a young wife. I mean, would you buy a house in a town that didn't have a grocery store? I mean, is that kind of a turnoff?
well, I'm very happy that the Campbell grocery store opened in MacArthur. I think that was very much needed. So we're lucky that they were willing to invest in our county to provide that. So, but I want to go back to, I want to mention Miriam Spires. She was a lady. She lived to be over 100 years old, and her daughter and I were best friends since school times. And but I used to call Miriam a catalyst. And she's, we had a restaurant that partially burnt in our town. And she says, well, what we need in this town is a community center. And Miriam got people talking about it and thinking about it, and a whole group of us in that community signed on the dotted line to buy the property and have the building restored, and that's how the Wilkesville Community Center got started. And then Miriam said, we need a choir. We need to have a community choir. And Miriam didn't sing, but she loved music, so she got us together, and for several years we had a spring concert and a Christmas concert. And she also was the editor for the Wilkesville Reporter too, so she did a lot of things like that. And I think that she helped to get the parade started too in Wilkesville. I was going to add that into her list of things that she was always good with ideas. And you've got to have a person that says, I think we can do this. I know we can do this. And so I just want to acknowledge that Miriam helped to get us started. She kind of gave us a kick in the butt when we needed or something, and you were talking about people pulling together, Red, and I just believe that that's one of the good things about our town of Wilkesville and the surrounding area there, in that in doing the things that we do, it's because people are willing to work together on it. And that's one of the fun things about it. So
yeah, it is, and I just love. Now, we were discussing before we went on about how people register for. Does that need to be done how far in advance, or is there, what's the protocol there?
well, the protocol is that you need to come into town on. It's always on the 4th of July. We never move it to another day. Okay. But lineup starts at 10 o'clock. Parade starts at 11. So get yourself organized the day before. or that morning, if you might wake up and say, hey, I feel pretty good, I think I'll go to be in a parade. And you don't have to have any special skills or training, but maybe if you bring a horse, that would be good. But
Yeah.
and mentioning the horses, we need lots of horses, guys. And we're going to hope and pray that it's not a really hot day that day. I haven't looked at the weather forecast yet, but but we always have horses. They're always at the end of the parade. And you know why they're at the end of the parade. So people don't have to march through anything else that's on the street. So so what you have to do is, if you're going to go to bring any kids, you bring them and they start over across from the old restaurant.
Okay.
And but then if you're going to be adults in the parade, or if your kids are going to be on the float with your group, then that all goes up to the firehouse and lines up from the firehouse. You get your numbers and your registration form there, and then you bring the registration form up to me. I will be sitting under a awning carport at the top of the hill.
Okay.
And,
we got a picture of where
oh.
they're at somewhere. They
Okay.
have a little cart that you said someone donates it. Where you and David sit.
Oh, yes. Well, he loans it to Roy Vaughn and Linda loan that to us
Right
for
there
the
they
day.
are.
Yes, yes. So we do the announcing for the parade there, and that's across the street from the town square. So, but we have friends that they have a pumpkin patch, and I don't know, they used it on their farm and things. So,
Okay.
but it makes it really great because it has a covering. I talk with my hands, Red. Okay, but they have a covering which gives us some shade there. So, and.
Well, that's awesome. Come on out and
One
enjoy the-
thing I mentioned the community center. I do want to mention that the folks that help to keep the community center going, they will have refreshments after the
I
parade.
was going to mention that you don't leave hungry at the Wilkesboro Parade.
You can come get a sloppy Joe or a hot dog and something cold to drink, and whatever donation you give for the food, that helps to support the running of the community center.
That's a really nice tradition, and I meant to bring that up earlier. I loved it. It's so that's a part of the Americana. A hot dog on the 4th of July, sloppy Joe. The drinks are good. The place is always clean. It's just a wonderful environment. And it was funny. I was there last year, and I went out and told. It's kind of a funny sidebar here, but Larry Bones was there. And I'd went out to his house 2 years earlier and told him he was getting water, and he was so thrilled.
Yeah.
And last year he came up to me and he goes, "Hey, Red, he goes, why'd you lie to me?" I said, "I didn't lie to you." He goes, "You told me I was getting water. You came all the way out to my house and told me I was getting water." But I went up there to take pictures, and I ran into him. And I said, "I don't know what's happened." I said, I got a call, and apparently what happened was the price doubled. And Terry Federoff, the development director, was able to get ARC money to help get him water. So
Good.
Larry's getting his water and all the other people out there. And that could be important to Wilkesville down the road because that will get water to the Appalachian Highway.
Yes.
And the Radcliffe exit could eventually be developed. And talking about Wilkesville, and we're going to hear from Andy and talk about Parker's Place in a minute, but they're going to tear down the old Radcliffe School. The county is.
I see. Okay.
And that's
Well,
a
it's
landmark.
pretty grown up there. You can hardly see anything of it from the road now. So, yeah, I went from 5th grade to 8th grade at that building out there.
That's it, right.
That was called Wilton North, and when Vinton Township, Wilkesville Township joined a school district. So the Radcliffe School was known as Wilton North, and the Wilkesville School was Wilton South. And that was many, many years ago. Red?
Yeah, I guess apparently the building's been sitting there a long time, and the county people lived in it, and people have vandalized it, and
Yes.
the county feels that they need to remove it. it is a big part of Benton County history. It's a shame that it couldn't have been preserved, but it's apparently unsafe. So
Oh,
the county,
it's beyond saving. Yes.
yeah. So,
Yes, so yeah.
so we'll kind of move on into the entertainment world again with Mr. Andy, and tell us about your shows and how you said you play some in Columbus. You're playing down at the Poker. So
Yeah, so tomorrow I'm going to be in Granville. Anything north of Chillicothe is pretty much Columbus to me, but it's close to Columbus, and that's at Seek No Further Cidery. Next weekend I'm playing at Parker's Place in Jackson here. I do want to mention, because the next song I'm going to do is going to be about my buddy Bart. I do want to mention I'm not playing there because, like I said, I'll be in Granville. But tomorrow at the VFW in Wellston, they're having a birthday party for Bart, who left us a couple years ago.
yeah, Bart Wiseman, he's talking about. Go ahead.
And they're just, I looked at the lineup, there's too many people to even say anybody's name, but there's going to be music there from 5 to after midnight and lots of different acts, inside and outside. So if you're in this area tomorrow, go to the VFW and listen to some good music. If you're up near Columbus tomorrow, come to Seek No Further Cidery and see me.
You know, Bart was so good. He played at so many local events, and they had that tribute concert to him at the Marquee. And what a great guy, Andy. He was always willing to help somebody, and he's performed at so many events locally.
Yeah, pretty selfless individual. Yep.
And he was an excellent drummer in the Vinton County High School marching band when he was in high school.
Is that right?
Oh yes, he could rock those drums like crazy. He had one of those that had about 4 heads. It was a quad something, and he was all over the place on those. And,
He liked the idea of being a drummer. When I knew him, he was a guitar player, but he always liked the idea of being a drummer for sure.
I know that Parker's Place is one of the new establishments here in town.
Yeah, it's really great. They fixed it up, and last time I was there last month, everybody was super nice. Couldn't have asked for a better time.
Back in the old days, and we're going to turn Andy loose again. Almost all the establishments had music. A lot of the restaurants, it was kind of a tradition, and that went away for a long time with the recorded music, and now it's acoustic music is coming back, and that really provides income streams to our local artisans, performers, farmers market people. We're seeing a lot of this. If we can get this tourism going, it could be good for people like Andy and good for people like Parker's Place. People like 6 Cents, we already saw the overwhelming success of the Homegrown Happy Hour for Rowdy Smokehouse. People just get together and enjoy music, don't they, Andy?
Yeah, and since we watched that video, I've been meaning to mention Rowdy's because Nate and Holly there are just fantastic for the community, and they bring in all kinds of music that you wouldn't get to see otherwise. Sometimes it even lets me open up for them.
And I'll tell you, food over there is just great. I love the Texas toast, the French fries, the chicken, the brisket. It's all good stuff over there at Rowdy's. And so they worked with us the last 2 years on that program, and it's been popular. But now, if you're going to go down to Parker's, you can hear this guy and tell us what you're going to give us a little sample of what that crowd's going to hear down there at Parker's.
So this is a song I wrote about my buddy Bart. I wrote it when I was a teenager, and we were talking about, I'll definitely play it at Parker's next Saturday, but we were talking about the VFW, and I remember I walked to the VFW where Bart was bartending to play this for him. It's called Little Bird's Blues. Well, the skies started crying about 4 o'clock that afternoon, and I knew it wouldn't let up for a while. So we packed up our guitars, and I drove to where he was staying, said goodbye, and I tried to force a smile. When I picked him up, he'd been sober for a day or so. His eyes were tired, and he said he was in pain.
So we headed to the graveyard and sit up on a wall. We picked some tunes, but there wasn't much to say. He's a little bird and it's a great big sky. He sings real pretty songs, but he never leaves his wire. Can't soar with the eagles because he can't get that high. Maybe someday he'll remember how to fly. Had a sad face to gaze into that sorta made you understand how the life he chose had treated him real rough. Started out in redneck bars and couldn't set that bottle down after the first time I picked him up. He's a little bird and it's a great big sky. He sings real pretty songs, but he never leaves his wire. Can't soar with the eagles because he can't get that high. Maybe someday he'll remember how to fly. He could pick out any tune that anyone might want to hear. He never made a dime, but he was good at what he'd done. Used to tell me stories about the big time knocking at his door, but at some point he traded dreams for Demon Run. He's a little bird and it's a great big sky. He sings real pretty songs, but he never leaves his wire. Can't soar with the eagles because he can't get that high. Maybe someday he'll remember how to fly. Maybe someday he'll remember how to fly.
And you can hear songs like that on the Total Media Radio app on Hank FM 100.9, one of our new stations. It's based in Waverly and it also can be heard in Chillicothe and around the area and around the world, of course, on the Total Media Radio app. And it's a great. Tell us about your. Have you been to Nashville? Have you played in Nashville?
Played there's pretty generous. I visited and they have a thing at the Ryman Auditorium, which used to be the Grand Ole Opry. That's the church they used to have it in. You can go up on the stage and take your picture and hold a guitar. And I, dude said I could play a song then, and I did. But professionally speaking, I've not played in Nashville. No, it's a lot of fun to go down though.
I was in Nashville last Friday, coming back from Mississippi, and I stopped at Tootsie's at the airport. And at Tootsie's, I don't know if a lot of you out there that loves country music will know that Tootsie's is famous. It's one of the most famous bars in Nashville. It's where a lot of the legends. Now, the airport one I don't know about particularly, but the one downtown, the greats played at. Loretta Lynn, Patsy Cline, Buck Owens, all those older stars. So Tootsie's has a national, worldwide reputation. And they still, but what they do now, they got entertainers like Andy that plays for tips. They play for the crowd, and they got a big tip back.
Well, if they're like me, they don't just play for tips, because I don't just play for tips. I'll turn those gigs down every day.
Well, I tell you, the gentleman that was playing in there, I was between flights, and I stopped it. I wanted some kind of Nashville experience, and when I was walking through the airport, I saw Tootsie's, and I said, well, that's about as Nashville as you can get, as if you don't go downtown. So I sat there for a couple hours, and I did a video from there, and it got about 5,000 views. So it was good to be back in Nashville again, and there's always somebody singing there, always.
Well, there's 1,852,000 guitar pickers in Nashville, and anyone that unpacks his guitar can play twice as better than I will. You ever heard that song, Red?
Yeah, Dale McCurry. The first time I went to Nashville, Dale McCurry was on the Opry, so we saw them, and wonderful. I know, and I just can't. I know this lady has a musical background too.
Oh, absolutely.
She loves to sing, and I asked her to sing today, but she declined. But tell us about your love of music and some of the singing you've done.
Oh, goodness. The first time I ever sang was for the Christmas program at Wilkesville Church. I was 5 years old, so I've been singing since I was 5. I sang in high school, sang in different choirs. I had the great honor of being selected to sing at the Ohio State Fair with the All Ohio Youth Choir at the State Fair. And for a poor farm kid from Vinton County, I got to go to Europe the next summer. And back in 1968, it cost us $1,000 to go on this trip, but we did a lot of fundraisers. And Miriam Spire said we'll put on a variety show and a chili supper, and we raised at, I don't know, a quarter or 50 cents a bowl of chili. We raised $300 that night.
Wow.
You know, so that was amazing. And
A lot of money back then.
that was a lot of money, you know. So, but I had that honor to do that, and I have had when I worked for Soil and Water Conservation in ODNR, we had a state meeting in Cincinnati, and they said if you get so many people in your group to attend, you can select somebody to do the national anthem at the Cincinnati Reds game. So myself and the state president, who also was a great singer, he and I did the national anthem, and that's got to be one of my highlights of music experiences and things. So, but I sang later with a group called Voices of Ohio. They no longer exist. Unfortunately, our director passed away, and you know, we just kind of disbanded the group after that, but called Voices of Ohio. And we had the privilege of, when Kenny Rogers came to Ohio for his Christmas concerts, we were his backup choral group. So I have, as a group, not me by myself, but in our group sang with Kenny Rogers. So that's I'm getting chills, you know. So, you know. But that was a wonderful, wonderful opportunity and experience. So,
Yeah, you're what I call a real singer. I'm a hollerer. But yeah, stuff like the national anthem. That's kind of what separates it out. That's a really hard song to sing. And not everybody kind of realizes the difference between singers and people who just hold a guitar and make noise with their voice.
I've known Andy since he was at least around 5 or 6 years old, and I've heard Andy when he began playing guitar, and I just want to say it's been a real joy listening to you, Andy. I haven't heard you in several years.
Thank you.
And I did try to get him to be in our Christmas program at the church this last year, but I'm going to make a public invitation. So I don't know the date yet, but
I don't know what was going on that night.
So it's something he had a conflict, so we couldn't get him. But I'm going to tell you early. Just I'll tell you the exact date when I have it. But cool. We're gonna so the last 2 years. We have put on a lovely Christmas program for our community and surrounding areas.
And Joe, her husband, is a good singer too. I love it when he sings "Angels Among Us."
Yes.
He does that song. He does a wonderful job on that song.
I have a crush on Joe's guitar.
Well, I think right now it's in the possession of his son, our son, at the moment.
Well, then I have a crush on Kyle's guitar.
Kyle's guitar, and is it a Gibson?
It's a Gibson, and we bought it at Hummingbird Music Store from Walt. So it's a homegrown Gibson here. So, yes.
I always kid him over at the pawn shop in Waverly. I used to kid the clerks over there. I said, you know how to make the price of the guitars go up? I said, just put Gibson on. Remember on pawn shop, Chumley bought a fake Gibson.
Oh.
Well, that was true for a lot of years that you were just buying the Gibson name, but anymore they've kind of turned themselves around. They're making good guitars again. Now I've played 3 other of this model, and this is the only one that I like. This is from around the turn of the century, but they're making good guitars again.
I tell you, we are going to
sponsor me, Gibson.
Sponsor this man. Yeah, to take care of this man. We're giving Gibson, our boy Gibson's the iconic brand. That's all the older stars. That's what they played, and the Martins. And,
Martins, yes.
And the Martins. But we're gonna let Andy take us down the road, and then we're going to set up the 4th, and we're gonna close with something special. So, Andy, why don't you pick us one more song, and we'll set up the 4th of July at Wilkesville on Thursday, right?
Thursday, the 4th of July, yes.
Okay. Good. Take us
All
away.
right. Well,
Andy.
this is a song my dad and my cousin Jimmy wrote, and then they forgot, and I had to fill in the blanks. This is called "Tears in My Ears." I got tears in my ears from lying on my back in bed just a crying over you. And one of these days, when you realize I'm the one, you'll have tears in your ears too. I remember the night when you said goodbye. You cried before you got gone. When I saw those tears, I thought your heart had changed your mind, but it looks like I was wrong. I got tears in my ears from lying on my back in bed just a crying over you. And one of these days, when you realize I'm the one, you'll have tears in your ears too. I tuned up my radio to get you off my mind. I may have had a couple sips too, but no matter what that DJ played, I couldn't keep from crying. Honey, every song was about you. I got tears in my ears from lying on my back in bed just a crying over you. And one of these days, when you realize I'm the one, you'll have tears in your ears too. All right, this is my favorite part. A friend told me once that you'd have to shoot me dead before I'd realize we were through. Well, I reckon he was right, 'cause it'd take a bullet, babe, for me to stop loving you. I got tears in my ears from lying on my back in bed just a crying over you. And one of these days, when you realize I'm the one, you'll have tears in your ears too. You'll have tears in your ears too.
All right.
All right.
Yes.
Well, we got entertainment abounds. And we're going to set up the Thursday activities. I think the 4th of July is about us being Americans. Despite what problems America might have, it's still a great country. There's still a lot of people still achieve dreams in America. And I think the Wilkesville celebration really reflects proud to be Americans.
I think it's been a wonderful thing that our community has done, and for the folks, I promote it, and if I say where I'm from, and I said, yeah, and 4th of July, if you haven't got a place else to come on over to Wilkesville, come down, come up, wherever direction you're coming from. So line up, start registration 10 a.m. Parade will start at 11. As soon as I get run down from the school area down to the parade review stand, and it's an enjoyable hour, and then you're hot and dry, come to the community center and get you a hot dog. As Red said, 4th of July can't be 4th of July without good old hot dogs. And some refreshments there, and visit with people you haven't seen for a while. You don't know the person next door to you, introduce yourself and say hi. That's one of the things nice about our part of the world, that most of us don't know a stranger. And you got to be like that, and you got to help your neighbor out, and it's a good part of the world to be from.
And a final thing before we show our final clip, you got a big fan, and somebody that's well known in the area, and TV personality Randy O. He's become quite a fan of
Of Wilkesville, yes.
Yes. And
Yeah. They're usually pretty good about WSAZ covering things that happen in our area, and we're thankful for that. So.
yeah, when he was at WSAC, he would come up, and he turned down a couple of hot stories because he wanted to go to Wilkesville. So,
Yeah.
but this is going to give you, we're ready to close, but David Stifler is a fine singer, and he's been your partner in this for a long time. And David, he does, I guess, country and gospel, and
Yes.
and just see a little sample of David's work, and come on out and see them Thursday. We're going to close with this, and then we'll be back to thank everybody. But here's David Stifler over at the Wilkesville 4th of celebration doing a little singing for you. on Thursday at Wilkesville, and we want to thank our guests so much for being with us. Andy Milliken, he's going to be out there playing.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Constance Weiss, and she's going to be hearing a lot from her on Thursday. She'll be talking and come out. We'll be, Total Media will be there. We'll have some video from there, a lot of pictures, and one thing I love about being in the media and being a photographer is making memories, and people like these help make those memories. Entertainers, public events, and we're just going to celebrate. There's lots of celebrations in the area, and so proud that Wilkesville that's become one of their signatures.
And I just want to say a special thanks to you, Red, for asking me to come and sit and talk with you today. And I want to say from the bottom of our hearts, we really appreciate all the coverage and your dedication to being at our event, and the great information that you share with the public through Total Media. And it is extremely well, we don't have to pull teeth to get you to come. I guess that's a good way of putting that. You're just always ready to be there when we need you, and that is so much appreciated.
And remember, the biggest thing Wilkesville had, and we're going over, so we got to get off, but I'll never forget the Gober bike race. That was an amazing experience.
Yes.
Maybe we'll talk about it. We'll have you back. We could devote a whole show to that.
I've got different hats, so I can talk. I can talk to you on all kinds of things, Red. So.
Okay. Well, we've heard music and entertainment, and we saw some great videos today. I hope everybody's enjoyed it. And we did go over a little bit, but it's the 4th of July. We're all celebrating America. So thanks for joining the Roundup, everybody. We'll see you next week.